Right, here I are. James, you can see you're enjoying the chips. We just took a brief break as we've been talking about teams, what makes a great team and so on. And you talked about the fact that you've been in many teams, and in teams in challenging environments, the police and so on, but you also advise people of putting together teams now, and you've worked on special security teams and so on. Tell me a little bit about the person who's watching this, and they're a manager, they're running a team, and particularly in the climate that we've been in the last few years, there's redundancy, there's restructure, there's huge competition, there's fewer people do things, there's all sorts of pressure from above and below. Can you give me some key, simple, essential tips that's going to help a manager really run an effective team? Just rattle a few things off that's really important.
You've got to keep in mind, as John Adair, one of the gurus of leadership, always said, task, individual, team. And often what's forgotten in the haste and the commotion of actually achieving the task objective, is that any high-performing team works on a tripart pillar of team, task, and individual. If as a manager you neglect one aspect of that management role, those three parts, the ship will eventually tip over.
Right, I think I'm going to get you to repeat this because what you're saying is so powerful during that security announcement, which so rudely interrupted your words of wisdom there. So you were talking about this, the team, the individual,
and the task.
Yeah, and you were making the point there that if the task
becomes the only focus,
right, which so often it does,
the boat will tip over,
right,
sooner or later. I had that with my own team. I had that with my own manager. All he was interested in was get the task done. More and more pressure, more and more feeling of no recognition, negativity, just a sense of despondency that there was no regard to me as an individual.
So when that happens, some people are managing this, especially the managers or might be fellow senior managers, they think, well, that's all very well, I'd love to be able to look after the individuals in the team. However, I'm being pushed down on to achieve these big things and I just don't have the time. I get the sense that what you're saying is that, but if you do not address that, you're going to have no team. You're going to have the absenteeism, people are going to leave, or things are just going to be missed and so on. And in many situations, that's going to be very, very serious.
It's happened to me. That's what's happened.
What are some of the things that can happen in the environments across the board that you've seen advising people? What are some of the, just point to us, what are some of the things that can happen when this obsession just purely with the team? I don't want to just purely focus on that, but what is it? What are some of the things that can happen?
Well, the dynamics, the day-to-day dynamics is you'll come into work and it's not a list of emails demanding your attention on certain key points that the line manager wants you to look at that day. Constant interruptions when you're in team meetings about what they want you to do, when you're explaining some of the logistical considerations that need to go into getting a project or operation off the ground.
Right.
A lack of respect, in effect, to you as a trained, qualified manager doing your job.
Right.
And that's something that I was constantly battling against, particularly in the last 10 years of my career, is the battle against compromise. Managers wanting you to do things faster and faster for less and less cost, and you were constantly fighting your position, your corner, and say, yes, we can do that, but we have to give something else less priority in this given point in time.
Right, so I can already see from
a lot of what we were doing, and I established, was a tasking and coordination process. So rather than it being left to a personal communication engagement, it was done through a formal setting on actually looking at the jobs that you've got, prioritising, looking at the resources that had to be applied, and when new jobs were coming down, making key decisions through a scientific basis of what could be done and what could not be done. And constantly reminding your line manager that, hey, I want to get this right. This is
And I wonder if that brings me on to something, that phrase just came to mind, something ROI, return on investment, so on. Sometimes, because the focus is, of course, on this task, and that's one thing I want to say is that people might think, well, okay, I hear what you're saying, and of course we want to focus on people, and there's lots of things we've got in place, in fact, to support our people. But of course we know that in certain situations those things fall down. What are the actual practical benefits of when you do take that time in individuals? I mean, I'm very aware of it in terms of my approach as a coach, but some people might be watching this and thinking, well, if you can give me some actual practical return on investment benefits in terms of what benefits I'm going to see by spending that extra time on people, or
it's back to the classic issues of what motivates an individual. Getting that understanding first is essential before we can actually move on to a more coherent team performance. So if you've got that basic understanding, people's motives for going into work differ from people to people. Sometimes it's for social reasons, sometimes it's for recognition, sometimes just the monetary payment that goes with it. So you've got to understand what's making your people tick.
Well, I think that you're so right. I couldn't agree with you more, because I think that until one understands that, it's like nothing else can happen. And that includes your own motives, doesn't it? Because until you understand what really makes people tick, you're not going to get the best out of them. And I think one of the things that you point to is what is it that makes a great team. So I wonder if one of the things I hear from you is that, sure, if you just want to run an average team, an average organisation, by all means do the things that you're doing. But if you're really wanting to run a great team, you really need to deeply understand people. You need to understand the individuals in your team, where they are, what they're capable of. Yeah.
I mean, the point I made in my book was a very simple and short one. But literally, if you value your team and you want genuinely your team to perform, you've got to treat it as a second family.
I think you're going to be back on James, the Eurostar, as well as the announcement. Absolutely, we're pausing. But I'm loving this at the moment that we're talking about. It's the train.
Thanks, Ray.
I guarantee you, we're not on the track. We just make this entertaining by just picking the most noisiest spot we could. And you're making the point that you've got operations management.
Yes.
You've got to take the team as a second family.
It is your second family, and they're all like a family. They're all at different stages of maturity. They all have different skill sets, and they all have different personalities. And you, as a mother or father, are dealing with their day-to-day tantrums, their day-to-day frustrations, their stress, their depression. And it's about nurturing them, understanding them, cajoling them, encouraging them. And this is a day-by-day process. But it's not, most of these things are not in the HR handbook.
I really like what you're saying, because as you were saying, I thought, these things aren't HR, and it's almost as though people often see that these things, when they emerge, are an aside. But they're not the aside, they're absolutely the key.
Absolutely central.
Because the strategy, it's almost as though the strategy, isn't it? It's almost like, if you're saying that, I'm struck, because it's almost like the strategy and the task. Okay, that's the map of what we need to do. But the reality of how we're going to get there is about the team.
Yes. If they feel a sense of belonging and ownership to the people around them and to the job in hand, the rise in performance is exponential.
And you've seen that in lots of situations.
And I have seen that. I've watched it. But it's time consuming. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
It's not a quick fix. This is about an investment of time, day and night, a weekend, talking, discussing with team members about their individual performance and how the team perform together, get the job done.
Yes.
It's that committed. But once you've gone through that, and you've got the understanding, you understand the motivations of individuals, and you've started them to work selflessly together for each other and the job in hand, hey, the world is your oyster.
Well, I just love that. I think that's a perfect moment to close, because I love that picture that you paint, because I think that at one and the same time you take us back to fundamentals. It's almost as you're telling us something that's so powerfully simple, as so often happens, that it's almost like something that's passed us by. And I like the fact that you said that it is something that does take time. Absolutely, but I really hope that there's, for me, something a little bit of a call there now, a little bit of a challenge to people who are watching this in management or leadership in any position. But I'm looking forward to our future conversations. I want to just thank you again for your time.
Thanks very much.
And leave you to smile and eat your chips, which I've been keeping you from whilst, yes. Thank you very much.